we're going to keep the conversation going with Julia Sullivan Loos from Ground Up and Michael Pan from Pan's Jerky, which I am addicted to now in Costco. I'll just tell you it's all your fault. Okay, take it away, y'all. Give them a hand, you guys, as we come back. Thank you.
Well, Michael, we're here to talk about manufacturing, the necessary evil for some or the joy for others.
That's right. That's right.
Well, can you give everyone some context about why you're on the stage? Who are you? Tell us.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Michael Pan. I'm the founder of Pan's. We make a product called Pan's Mushroom Jerky. I know, very creative, right? Nice. Thank you. We make a plant-based jerky made of shiitake mushrooms. Don't overthink it. And we have a couple birthdays, I like to say. Full-time started in 2018. Story goes back a bit further in 2006 when I took a trip to visit family in Malaysia, came across this amazing recipe that I fell in love with it, and decided to bring it to market. And fast forward a little bit, launched officially in 2018 and have been off and running ever since. And we self-manufacture in Central East Side in Portland, Oregon. Central East Side, and it's been quite the journey, as we're here to talk about. But yeah, we're super excited to have a very passionate team that's comes in every day and works really hard to put the product on shelves. So we're here to talk about it. How about yourself, Julie?
Yeah, to give everyone just a little more context about how many stores are you in and how many people are on your team.
Thank you for that. Yeah, we have about 26 people on the team right now. Most everyone is in the manufacturing side, and now we have 6 delicious flavors we have on the market now, and we're in about 2,500 stores around the country. And some of our partners here today, like Market of Choice, shout out to them. But yeah, we're continuing to try to obviously make a high quality product and continue to grow.
Awesome. Well, I'm Julie, and I'm the co-founder of Ground Up PDX, and we started in 2016, so about 7.5, or we're going on about 7.5 years, and we produce delicious, uniquely flavored nut butters, and our mission is to employ women overcoming adversity to help them get back on their feet. So that was really at the core. Our business is unique in that the mission came before we ever had a product. But I was set through experience that I had living in East Africa. I wanted to come back home into my hometown of Portland and do similar work. So the nut butters are really an avenue for us to teach those job skills and confidence and help women get back on their feet. So we are also based in the Central East Side. Michael and I are neighbors. We're too busy to see each other often, which is sad, but
very sad.
Doing our own manufacturing. And we have, our employee count ranges from like 20 to 24 people, depending on the season. And we're in about 1,000 grocery stores. And then 45% of our business is e-com. And then we do a significant amount of business in food service. So if you're ever at Burgerville, you can try our chocolate hazelnut milkshake.
There we go.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to hear, Michael, how did you land on deciding to manufacture your own mushroom jerky?
Yeah, looking back, I don't think I ever really had a hard line of deciding. It was something that, honestly, I didn't even know there was a market for a long time. I believed it personally, but it was something that, like I said, I literally went to Malaysia and learned how to make it with my cousin, honestly. And he was almost like my mentor. And, we have a family recipe that is fairly unique how we make it. And I never really knew anyone that necessarily knew how to make it. I also didn't even know how to convey how it was made either, because I felt like we had a lot to learn ourselves to even communicate to a co-packer that it needs to be XYZ. We had no specs. It was just me trying to figure it out. On top of that, I also reformulated my family's recipe on my own. So I was really very early on just clueless, honestly, trying to figure it out. But over time, I found some great people that in the city that were, fellow makers, Portland Night Market, a place where we meet other vendors and sharing ideas and so on. And I met someone who had some extra space that they were willing to share with me, and took a couple days from them and just hit the ground running, trying to figure it out. So a lot of hours, a lot of hard work, really trying to get off the ground, trying to figure out how to manufacture this thing. Not only our my formula, but also obviously how to scale it. And it took a number of years. How about yourself?
Yeah, so for us, we started in like a shared commissary kitchen. So if anyone's spent time in the Red in Southeast Portland, it's an amazing space to get started in Portland and be able to share resources and not have to invest a bunch in building out a facility. So we worked there for the first 4.5 to 5 years of our business. We had, for a while, our shift was like 8 p.m. until we finished. So sometimes we were there till 3 or 4 a.m. if that's what it took to get our run done for the day. But as we've grown, we have since moved into our own production space about 2 years ago. And for us, self-manufacturing was pretty crucial to our business and employment model. So with offering jobs to women overcoming adversity, teaching job skills, us making that product in-house is really crucial. And it's amazing for our employees because they're able to be a part of creating something that they can then go to the grocery store and be proud to see it on the shelf. And that was a really big, really crucial part for us. Yeah.
It's incredible. And, we always talk offline in general, like how we manage, our both our production operations and our team. Like, obviously amazing what you guys do at Ground Up.
Well, thank you,
team,
Michael.
So.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear. So you really took on a daunting process to not only self-manufacture, but to essentially build out your own space from the ground up. So would love to hear a little bit more about that process.
Yeah, I mean, I like to say a lot of it ends up being luck and timing, and these events are critical. Just people in the community connecting, whether it's just sharing the latest frustrations or wins, but also how can each other help each other. And so luckily at one of an event in town, I met someone who was in a phase of his life where he wanted to. They had just left a business of his own, and he wanted to basically redo buildings in Portland. And he also had a kind of a soft spot for makers in general. And we kind of kept talking about an opportunity to, they wanted to potentially buy a building in Century Side that was abandoned. And I needed a space that I wanted it made for my own uses. And it took a bit, but over time and over a bit of discussions on what we need and so on, I was lucky enough to have this partner that built our space out. We ended up renting it for 5 years, built out all the improvements for us, and now we paid over with a 5-year lease and so on. But it was very challenging. We were lucky enough to go from this kind of shared kitchen situation near OMSI. I don't know if you're familiar with that area, but went from that and literally right as March 2020, it was mentioned earlier, but moved into our space March 2020 as things were ramping up with the pandemic. And the timing was like just right where we were able to kind of spread out and operate safely with our staff and kind of hit the ground running.
Cool. Yeah, I think for us, another big piece that we found to be a huge benefit that I don't know that we knew when we first wanted to do our own manufacturing is having the flexibility to do short runs, do limited seasonal offerings. So a big part of our business today is monthly seasonal flavors that we launch online. And if we were at a co-packer, I don't know that we could necessarily meet the minimums that they would be requiring for us to try out a product. As well, it's given us a really awesome ability with grocery stores too. So we launched at Target and they wanted us to get to a lower price point. So we've been able to try out, our typical is a 12-ounce glass jar, and we're now trying out a 10-ounce plastic jar. They only launched us regionally, so at a co-packer, it would have been a pretty risky investment. Manufacturing in-house, it's been totally feasible for us to give that a try.
That's amazing. And we talked a little bit beforehand about what to talk about today, and I think that's a good segue into, I mean, if you want to, could you talk about some of the pros that you've seen? That sounds like a big one, obviously, but what other pros have you seen with self-manufacturing?
Yeah, I would say another huge one is quality. So for us, both of us, we sell, we're at the premium end on the shelf for our categories. And being able to control the quality is really, really crucial for us. And we're trying every batch of nuts. Like, we're sampling the nuts, and about half the time we send them back, and our nut broker is like, what? Like, I've shipped out 30,000 pounds of these nuts and no one has an issue. And we're like, nope, they're not roasted enough. They're too roasted. It's not going to work for us. And that's like so crucial for us and for our customer. One of the top reasons that customers buy our product and share is the quality.
That's great. And I mean, similar story where, some of the pros for us have been definitely, I guess, being able to be more nimble. And I talk with a lot of different manufacturers who both co-pack and don't co-pack. And I'm always asking, like, what are the pros and cons and so on. And, I think for them, they've told me other stories where they didn't have control over that quality. And you end up with a huge run of product that you may be left to sell somehow. And, for whatever reason, maybe you don't have the spec communicated or even written to when you start off, you're doing a million things. You may not have a fully written spec. I've heard nightmare stories about people making huge runs without being able to adjust on the fly. And for us, I mean, I think definitely the quality controls, pivoting quickly. And like I mentioned before, for us, I was trying to figure out how to manufacture something that I felt fairly new, a new process. And for me, I always thought that, I knew that we wouldn't be able to scale very quickly, but even if I wanted to go to a co-packer, I really wanted us to be experts at what we do and to be able to really, figure those steps out that makes our product good was important for us to do in order to even communicate that to someone else. We are still open to potentially co-packing down the road, but I think so far it's, for us, it's paid off, or we've really focused on that aspect of it.
Yeah, well, I know we're talking about a lot of great things we found from self-manufacturing, but let's be real, Michael, we're both pretty tired, and often we do connect. We are stressed and overwhelmed, as I'm sure most of you can relate to, whatever that challenge is you're experiencing in your business. So I'd love to chat a little bit about those late nights or keeping you up at night, what some of the cons are, or things that you find more challenging about manufacturing yourself.
Yeah, notice we started with the positive stuff first. That was intentional.
We don't want everyone calling us like months later, like, I went into self-manufacturing, here's all my problems. So we'll share both sides.
I think at a very high level, the cons for us is, we just weren't able to move as quickly as we wanted to. We had some fortunate growth spurts where we were in Shark Tank in 2020. We were in this kind of plant-based movement that was really, it still has momentum, but was really big past few years. And we were really struggling to keep up. We were very happy from our outcome from the show, but very much quickly met with, crap, what do we do? How do we make this a lot of product really fast? And we kind of brute forced it where we just hired, as many people as we could, went 24 hours on our shifts. But, when you don't have that foundation that we definitely did not have, things get out of control very quickly, both from a, product quality standpoint, both from like managing our customers that are waiting patiently, all sorts of things. And it was a huge struggle not being able to scale quickly. We got through it, but I think that was just a huge part, not be able to turn on that spigot really quick.
Yeah. Do you have an example how that's come into play? I know you've gone national with Kroger and have had some other big account opportunities. How has that played out with self-manufacturing in the back of your mind, co-packing?
Yeah, I mean, again, the con was maybe we weren't able to fulfill every order. It's been like that for quite a while, so we've had to manage that. I'd say the pro, though, is that we're able to turn on fairly quick, too. So if we needed to focus on, XYZ partner, we're able to work with them fairly quickly and get things up running. An example for us is that we just had one of our competitors went out of business, or at least sunsetted their product. Within like a few weeks, we're like, we can fill it. We're ready to go. Got manufacturing ready to go, and let's get started. So it was for us it took a long time, but for us, we're now starting to see a lot of benefit from just having that control over ourselves versus, I think during the pandemic, what I heard constantly was, and people were coming to us actually, there's no time on the co-packer side. They don't prioritize us. They're not working with us closely. They're working with the big players who need to fill all these shelves. And then funny enough, people told me I was crazy manufacturing.
Yeah.
Then lo and behold, people were coming to us saying, wow, you have extra control. You're vertically integrated. It sounds amazing. Can you help us out and try to produce this stuff for us?
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think one of the big challenges is, as a founder, that my expertise is not manufacturing and operations. I did not get into this business to be a manufacturer, yet we chose to self-manufacture. So much of my energy has gone to the operational manufacturing end. So much of my energy, you're always told to work on the business, not in the business. As a founder, how do you pull out and work on the business? And doing our own manufacturing, in a lot of ways, it's been a big distraction over the years, and having turnover in our operational manager and director level as a smaller business, not being able to compete with the salaries of larger companies, has made it really challenging. And so constantly getting pulled into firefighting on the manufacturing end has been something that has been a challenge since the beginning. And I would say we've just now the last year and a half got to the point that we have some really strong higher level operational team members that we've been able to retain, and I've been able to pull back from that. But it's just really easy to end up not doing what you love. And I was finding myself burnt out, and I was like, wait, this is because I'm doing the thing I'm not good at. I'm learned how to fix machines, and I've become a mechanic, and it's 1 a.m. and I'm still here, and I'm dreaming, having nightmares about, what if something fell into the nut butter? What if someone ended up with something in their product and that's on my shoulder and I have no idea what I'm doing? So I think that that's something that haunts me a lot. And every time we have turnover in those higher level operational roles, we don't have so many tiers of operational team members. And so overnight, I could be back in production. Yeah. And that's a scary and anxiety-provoking reality.
It falls back on you.
Yes.
One way or another. I just will nod through all that. I mean, same. I think it's for us. We were lucky that we had some good exposure from the show, but or for Shark Tank. But you are pulled in all the time. I mean, at least for us, that's been, or for me, it's been constant. And I think to your point, hiring those key people in your operations for us has been super critical, and it's not always easy to do.
Yeah.
And speaking of team, and obviously they're a very critical part of manufacturing.
Yeah.
How have you been able to manage that? How is that with your culture? What are the pros and cons of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So with our job training program, a huge pro is that we never have a shortage of entry-level manufacturing staff. So I talk to a lot of teams that do self-manufacturing, and we've talked about this, always struggling to retain staff, specifically during the pandemic. So for us, because we have nonprofit partners that send referrals to us for women that are overcoming adversity. And so we always have a wait list. So we constantly have people who want an opportunity to get back in the workforce, to be given job skills, to gain confidence. So that part is a huge pro. The con of that is we experience a lot of turnover, which anyone experiences, but with individuals overcoming adversity, life happens. And so we constantly have 10 to 12 women who are rotating through. I'd say every couple weeks, there's a new face in the building. So that piece, as we grow, we're continuing to balance how to maintain our mission and for that to be sustainable and to meet our orders. We're in Target, we're in Whole Foods. We can't have a week where we just can't produce because we don't have enough women who show up. So we've really balanced out our mission and have created a lot more tiers where women can level up in our program. So we have you're part of the apprenticeship, then you can become an associate, then you can become a lead. We just had someone in our program who now became a supervisor. So we've really created a lot more levels and opportunities to teach those leadership skills when we do see someone like, hey, you have a ton of potential and we see that leadership skill in you. And so we can develop that. And then they're able to be an example to others that are coming into the program. So that's been really helpful.
And that's why I always talk to Julie. She's amazing what she's done with the culture at Ground Up. And I'll speak about our pros and cons for that. I mean, same with turnover, but I don't think we've spent enough time on culture building. Production's a very, pretty repetitive, very laborious. And it takes a unique type of person to be happy with that job for a long period of time. In a great way, you build experience over time, but at some point it does maybe level off. And so it's something that we're always trying to challenge to figure out how do we keep our team engaged, both from their day-to-day job, but also with the culture in our company. And manufacturing, it's weird. It gives me the opportunity, but it's been challenging for us, to be honest, to really spend that time while trying to build the plane, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
What about for you, other cons or challenges? You mentioned this safety, kind of this umbrella of risk that you take on when you manufacture.
Oh, that one keeps me up at night, Michael, all the time. Yeah. I mean, if you have a co-packer, they're definitely carrying a lot more of that weight when it comes to food safety and audits. So I still, every year when we have the big third-party audit, I'm like, okay, do we have everything in place, everything in line? And a co-packer really can help take off the pressure. But at the same time, a co-packer can shut down overnight. I'll share a personal example that we've actually had with a co-packer. So we make these little 1.15 ounce squeeze packs. It's something I wanted to do since day one. I would go backpacking with a glass 12-ounce jar, which was very inefficient. But I was always really intimidated about how to produce a product like this. So we launched it during COVID as a way to have a lower priced item that we could hand out to customers, get exposure, and also to receive feedback. Our customer is outdoorsy and on the go, is busy. So these are a great protein packed option. So we actually decided, I was too intimidated by the machinery, that we were going to explore co-packing for this product. So we ended up working with a co-packer for about the first year and had a lot of quality issues. We had thousands that would arrive leaking through the boxes. We'd have them arrive where there was no slit, so you had to use a scissors to open it. We try to cut them. That definitely didn't work. Then they would be leaking again. So we had a lot of challenges, and I ended up spending a lot of time at this co-packer, trying to troubleshoot, trying to figure out what was going on. So we explored some other co-packers. We were not smart in that we tested this product. A couple runs were good, and then retailers wanted it, and then we put it online. So we got a little ahead of ourselves as well, just in exploring the product. And so we had some pressure to produce them. And my fear is always, as a small business, that a bigger retailer is going to say oh, you can't meet our order. You can't meet our PO. You're off the shelf. So that's always something that I'm really aware of. So we decided, we looked at other co-packers. There was one we had signed a contract with, and then a week before they were starting to produce, they shut down. And so we decided to bring it in-house. So we ordered the machine, spent months, many nights troubleshooting. These look really simple, but they're 4 sides. They have to seal. You have to get the date on the back, the little slit there. But we brought them in-house, and our team worked really hard to be able to produce them ourselves. And overall, that's less anxiety producing now that we have the control. And if we can't do a run, we're figuring it out. We're bringing in a tech. We're bringing in someone to support us, but we feel that we're in control more.
Yeah, good. That's a good pro and con.
Yes, I know.
Side note, I could have, not to segue too far, but I could have used that size when we were on Shark Tank, because I don't think I've told you this, but
let's hear it.
I was in a pandemic season, so we were in the bubble, so we had to stay in a hotel room for 10 days, and we couldn't even go out and get snacks. Couldn't go in the hallway, but I had 5 jars with me that flew over just for my snacks.
Oh my
so
gosh.
Could use a
I
small
love
too.
that. Well, I'm curious to hear, Michael, on the sourcing, production planning. Like there's so much more that goes into manufacturing. And I'm curious how you've navigated that and how that's benefited or been a detriment doing your own production.
Still trying to figure it out, I feel like, always. I think it speaks to that nimbleness a little bit. The reality is I wish our sales were like this and consistent. It's not. It's like something like this. You gain some customers, you get some customers who come in and want to order one flavor that's bigger than the other. They want you to change the size. They want you to, and so I think for us, it's to your point, like what you guys did. We are able to kind of plan that a little bit closer and not have, months of lead time where we have to give a co-packer, 3 months in advance notice that we have and maybe we don't know yet even, and have to kind of really estimate for the co-packer where we can kind of decide day to day, ideally week by week, what we produce. Yeah. So we really taken advantage of that. I mean, for an example for us was we did a rotation in Costco this summer, and it took a while to prepare for that, but once we were ready to go, we were nimble enough to just do adjust our supply chain and adjust everything to accommodate that run. So really worked out for us, and I think. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I feel like we have people of all different stages of business here, Michael, and I don't know if we've confused people more if they're trying to figure this out or they're deep in self-manufacturing or co-packing and running into challenges. But I wonder, just with our last couple of minutes, if we can kind of sum up just some of the different factors if someone is kind of at that flexion point trying to make that decision, what you would advise.
Yeah, I mean, definitely ask around, get as many perspectives as you can. But I think something I always preach is there's no one size fits all. I mean, you can hear us and draw what you will from it, but it's so dependent on so many factors. Your funding, your uniqueness of the product, where you're located, do you have the resources? Are you trying to go fast versus kind of a marathon versus sprint? Yeah. It's hugely dependent on that. I didn't raise a lot of money when I started off. I wanted to prove the market existed for our product. We got pretty lucky with some timing along the way, which is great. But I did it for really, I didn't have a lot of, I think, options at that point of who was able to do this really quickly for us. So it really depends. Ask around, decide what's best for you.
Yeah. I think two piece I'd add is just the number of retail stores you're in, like contracts can come and go. So with co-packing, if you're going to commit to a certain volume or they have a minimum, if you don't feel confident that you can meet it yet, maybe that's something that you decide to hold off until you get enough accounts that can validate that co-packer. I think the final piece I would add around that is just as I was talking about my own skill set, not being manufacturing. And that's kind of what's pulled me away from being able to focus on sales and growing the business and our accounts, which is my strength, is really take a look at your founding team, the team you have in place. What financing do you have available? Can you afford, if you're going to self-manufacture, to bring someone on who has that expertise? Because I would say one of the biggest things is I wish we had taken the risk sooner to pay someone more who really had that manufacturing operational background. I think that would have saved me from a lot of burnout and stress. Well, we've got 1 minute and 50 seconds for questions.
I'm coming to you. Stand on up so everybody can hear if you don't mind.
Do your products have an expiration date, and how did that impact onboarding with KHE and UNFI, like trying to figure out how to stagger so you always have enough time before they expire?
Ours was 6 months. We just extended it to 9 months. So we were right on the edge for us where we didn't feel a huge impact. It has with maybe export type business, but we haven't had a huge issue with it actually.
Yeah, we've been really fortunate. We have a year shelf life for our product, so it really hasn't been an issue for us. And we obviously are sending them like our newest product when we can, but that's been the big piece. Yeah.
Thank
One
you.
more if someone
Other questions?
has it.
Okay, I'm coming to the front. Thank you for making time for questions, Michael and
Of
Julie.
course.
Hello. So I guess this is probably more for Michael because your mission kind of precludes co-packing. But I'm curious, how many shifts are you running now? Like, did you pull back after Shark Tank? And what do you see as your personal threshold for maybe making a shift to co-packing?
Ooh.
Sorry, that was a lot.
No.
Hitter.
got an
Heavy
ooh.
hitter right there.
We were going 24 hours a day. Not every function, but our bottlenecks were honestly for the past 3 years have been 24 hours, 7 days a week still. Until literally this week, we started getting equipment in place, which is now starting to ease that burden. And then the last question, it was coming to an end where I didn't think I could continue supporting that. Not only for myself, but for my team. Like it's asking a lot for my team to support XYZ at midnight or whatever. We had a good team, luckily, that was able to support us. But it's been challenging.
Then you really never sleep.
It's brutal. This is why I look this way.
Well, and nightmares about nut butter. Who knew? Julie Sullivan, Loos, give it up, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Ground Up, PDX, Michael Pan, Pan's Mushroom Jerky. Thanks, guys.